guys, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed last week's Why Does My Dog Do This? And if your dog has been doing that, you've been able to work on some of the tips I gave in order to curb that behavior. This week, while many of us are still sheltering in place or in quarantine of some sort, I thought it would be a good time to talk about going back to leash walking skills with your dogs, as now is a great time to be trying to get out where you'll have some fresh air and vitamin D, and as spring comes and the days get nicer, we really just want to make sure that you and your dog both are getting out and enjoying your time while you're outside while practicing social distancing, of course. So I put together a quick video earlier today on what I work on with Rooster as far as when we leave the house and just what we practice right in front of the house, as well as what we finish off with. In this first video, I'm working on Rooster not bolting past me over thresholds. So I've said before how important the wait command is, and this is just an example of that. So I always ask Rooster to wait, but then the problem is when I give him the okay, he tends to bolt past me. So in this first little part of the clip, I'm trying to set him up for success the best I can. So you saw me push him just gently with my leg to get him back to begin with. He tries to follow me out, so I put him back where I asked him to be. I don't want him trying to come over that threshold at all. And so I'm showing you there how he just runs right past me. So I'm trying to get him to slow down and not have that result when I finally give him the okay. So I'm working on getting him to wait until I've come out the gate, and then just also still coming behind me, not bolting past me. So then I show the example of how most people would want to just pull back and create tension on the leash. And really, usually when you do that, when you let go, the dog still bolts right past you. So in that specific example, you can see Rooster just kind of get sidetracked and he's sniffing things. But previously, when I had been doing the same exercise, after I let tension off the leash, he just resumes and does the exact same thing. So really what we're trying to accomplish, more than a physical barrier and adding tension, we're trying to create that mental barrier and more of a respect to follow rather than try to lead. So when I asked him for the okay again, you will see me use my foot to physically block him from being able to run past me. And so what that did is encouraged him to respect that threshold that's right next to me and wait to walk with me until I actually walk off. And so when I do finally walk off, I go very slowly so that encourages him to stay behind me. I'm reminding him again and explaining how you can use your leg as a barrier to just keep him back behind you. So I'm walking off very slowly and using my leg when needed to encourage him to stay beside or behind me and not just go right past me. So one thing I could have done to help him even more in this exercise is have a shorter leash. But for the purpose of it, I wanted to show you how things look when your dog is going past you. So really you would want a shorter leash to prevent him from getting that far ahead of you at all. So then we just want to walk off slowly to encourage him to stay behind us and not get super excited and run past us. So now that we're out in the street, I want to explain to you how to set your dog up for success. So right here I'm showing that if I were to walk to my right, Rooster's already in front of me. And so I'm really just not starting off well. So what I decided to do, and what I would encourage you, is to go in the opposite direction so that he's already set up for success and walking behind me and in more of that follower position. And so we just go back and forth in front of the house to start to really, again, set him up for success. And what I'm doing is every time that he gets out in front of me, I'm just slowly turning in the opposite direction and encouraging him again to get into that follower position. So we have a few barking dog neighbors, and that tends to be where he gets just a little excited and wants to get out in front of me. And so you'll see as we approach the first house of barking dogs is the first time he really gets out in front of me. And again, it's very minor, but for the purpose of what I want to show you, this is where you would turn around and take your dog in the opposite direction, and really just showing them that their efforts to drag you or be in front of you are futile because you're just going to keep doing the opposite of ultimately what they want. And so they're being rewarded by just continuing on the walk itself. I'm going to speed this up a little bit because a lot of what you're working on in the beginning is just straight repetition and going back and forth and back and forth. And it can be very mentally tiring for your dog as well as you. It's not very fun. Obviously, you're really not getting to see a lot, but a few days of doing this before your walk and going around, or just focusing solely on this for a few days and not even continuing on your walk, you will see great results. One thing I want to point out is that most people's reaction when their dog gets ahead of them is to try and pull them by force back into place. And what you see here is when I do that, Rooster's like, that's fine, then I'll just go on the other side of you. And so what we're really trying to do is create a better relationship between ourselves and our dog and more of a mutual respect by making their mind work more about creating thresholds, barriers, and just respect in general. And so throughout this video, again, like I said in the beginning, you're just going to see a lot of repetition. And one thing worth noting is that if you're an apartment dweller or someone who you take your dog out for a walk in order to go to the bathroom or something, you'll want to reserve specific times for working on this sort of structured walk because you do want your dog to be able to sniff around and not be afraid to go to the bathroom while they are on the leash. But during the times that you're trying to do more of a working walk, it is completely acceptable to expect your dog not to just be lollygagging or sniffing around and not paying attention to you. So you'll see that throughout the walk with Rooster, I reward him every time he checks in, and I just use his name to get him to refocus on me when needed. So we end the walk with a little bit of basic obedience and then just some fun for Rooster. So here I ask him for a sit and then I unclip him from the leash. And so a few things to note with this is I know that Rooster is trustworthy with being off leash. I know that I live in a very quiet neighborhood with no busy streets. And I have been working on these types of things with him since he was a puppy. So if this is not your dog, you'll want to invest in like a 20-foot leash or something that will give you the distance and your dog's ability to work on their obedience as well as run. And so Rooster's biggest thing is he just wants exercise. He wants to get out and be able to run and just kind of feel free, which is why he loves the bike so much. And to that point, you'll want to make sure that your dog is well exercised before you start expecting them to walk slowly and be obedient and just listening well to you. So I really worked on challenging Rooster. First, by just going far apart and expecting him to sit when he got to me as well as when he went away. And then I upped it a little bit by asking him for a down before I then walked away. So down is really a difficult one for Rooster. It's a position of submission, which he's not very good at. And so you'll see that he, in this clip, actually gets an itch that completely distracts him from maintaining his down, and he decides that it's okay to break it. So I end up having to turn around and go put him just quietly and gently back into his down. He struggles again with actually going into a down position, so I just gently encourage him into that down. I didn't want to cut this clip entirely so you could see it, but obviously you see my videographer struggles a little bit there. And so here I'm able to do my full 360 circle. I do it slowly so he doesn't think that I'm trying to leave him. And then I call him to come to me. So I just continue to challenge him a little bit. At one point, I try and jog away from him, of course, which makes him follow me. So then I just go and put him right back where I told him to be and try again. And that basically ended our session. He enjoyed the day after that. It becomes more of a game to him rather than just lessons all day. It's kind of like a recess for him. I hope this is helpful and you're able to get outside. Thanks for joining us this week. As always, enjoy your pup and have a great week.